President Biden visited Boise earlier today. Hear how people reacted to his arrival.
Washington hospitals are filling up as we speak. Hear how this could affect you.
On the campus of Washington State University, this is Murrow News 8.
Good evening, I'm Jacoby Wright.
And I'm Sydney Gardner. You're watching Murrow News 8.
President Biden was greeted by hundreds of protesters as he touched down in Boise today. The president was in Idaho this morning to meet with local leaders and address climate change and wildfire prevention. Upon his arrival, protesters lined the street outside of the building where the meeting took place, holding signs and waving flags declaring their dislike of Biden and some of the new COVID-19 mandates, as well as his handling of the United States pullout from Afghanistan.
In the state of Washington, we are seeing a high volume of COVID-19 patients in our hospitals with low staffing. As of September 7th, there are over 1,700 patients hospitalized statewide. Due to the Delta surge, hospitals are canceling elective procedures and operations. Peg Curry, the COO of Providence Hospitals in Spokane, described the scene in one word: misery.
The former FDA Commissioner, Dr. Scott Gottlieb, announced Sunday that the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine may be approved for emergency use in children ages 5 to 11 by the end of October. Gottlieb serves on the Pfizer Board of Directors and said the company is expecting to have data on its vaccines and young children before the end of September and will file the information with FDA quickly after.
Anyone who attends outdoor events with more than 500 people in Washington state is now required to wear a face covering regardless of COVID-19 vaccination status. The new mandate is similar to the outdoor mask requirements for large public gatherings recently implemented by King and Pierce counties. The outdoor mask mandate comes as Washington state hospitalization rates are at the highest they've been since the start of the pandemic.
Dozens of Washington State Patrol troopers, firefighters, and other state and local government employees have sued Governor Jay Inslee, contending that his COVID-19 vaccine mandate oversteps his legal authority and violates their constitutional rights. Last month, Inslee ordered all state employees and contractors, K-12 education staffers, and healthcare workers to get fully vaccinated for COVID-19 by October 18th or lose their jobs.
Today is the last day for unvaccinated WSU employees to get the Pfizer vaccine in order to comply with state orders. Governor Jay Inslee's orders required all state employees, including those who work at public institutions of higher education, to be fully vaccinated by October 13th. For those getting the single dose, you have until October 4th. Exemptions are allowed for religious or medical reasons. The Idaho Redistricting Committee is seeking public input on various draft proposals for redrawing congressional and legislative district boundaries. One option is reshaping the state's 2 congressional districts. Some other alternatives will be unveiled during the public meetings in Treasure Valley this coming week. Additional hearings will take place in northern, central, and eastern Idaho over the next month.
Washington state hospitals are taking an influx of COVID-19 patients from the state of Idaho. Idaho's Governor Brad Little has refused to require masks or vaccinations, causing Spokane hospitals to grapple with COVID-19 patients from northern Idaho and the surge here in Washington. Due to unchecked virus transmissions, medical centers and hospitals in Spokane have reached their breaking point.
Lumber prices are finally falling. After seeing prices reach a record high during the pandemic, the cost of framing lumber is returning to normal. Home buyers, however, won't see the benefits from these lower prices anytime soon. According to the Spokesman Review, other supply problems, including high labor costs and a shortage of workers, are still affecting home prices.
A new student cultural center is opening in the Cub with old ones up for sale.
And hear how WSU students are getting back to business as we enter into the 4th week of school coming up next.
It's okay to be scared. You don't have to be so strong.
Strength is not optional. This is my mother, my purpose. Real muscle is lifting her spirits between bedpans and bad news from doctors that doubt her strength. Strength is buried in bills, managing meds, and swallowing those moments of, Mom, it's me, your daughter. Remember? My strength is super, but I'm still human, right?
Look who's here. There she is. Thanks for your patience.
How you feel?
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 1-877-333-5885.
WSU students and teachers are back on campus adjusting to the new norm. Here's more with Doyal D'Angelo.
WSU students have finally returned to campus to further their education at a higher level. And after a year with minimal physical interaction with other people, students and teachers are more aware of the imprint we all have on each other.
For 2 hours and 40 minutes, I was there on screen, and just all black squares. If one person would turn on their camera and talk, it would help me get to the next day.
I mean, I used to call it teaching into the void, right? Because I would be teaching to 20 little kind of just blank squares, right, with names on them. And so you don't know who's paying attention and who doesn't. So there's that.
So I didn't know what campus really even looked like. I've never been on campus until my sophomore year, which is this year. The hardest part of the transition was just figuring out how to get to places and how things work in person, because I've never been in an atmosphere like that before. And now it's when you actually go to class in person, it's you actually gotta focus, actually talk to people, meeting people, taking notes and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I really enjoy about it now. It feels normal in a normal school setting. That and the ability for you to imprint on other students and have other students imprint on you. It's really beneficial.
For Murrow News 8, I'm Doyal D'Angelo.
After 50 years of service, the cultural and heritage houses near Pullman's campus will go up for sale. To replace these historic houses, the Division of Student Affairs is opening a new cultural and affinity center that will provide an enhanced space for students to meet and connect. The new center will be in the Cub so that it will build a stronger connection to other cultural spaces on campus.
Washington officials say they've destroyed a second nest of Asian giant hornets found in northwestern Washington and are prepping to take down a third. The Washington State Department of Agriculture said in a Facebook post that a team eradicated the nest Saturday in the town of Blaine along the Canadian border.
The weather has been nice lately, but will we see rain at the game this weekend? Let's send it over to Cameron Baber with our weather report.
Hey, thanks guys. All right, let's take a look at our weather here in Pullman. Now today we are looking at a high of 72. Currently it's around 68 to 69 degrees and we have a low of 42 degrees. Now you may notice as we enter into the middle of September, the sunset is coming a little bit earlier. So if you check out, the sunset will go down at around 7:03 tonight. Now let's take a look at our weather tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a high of 73 and a low of 50. And if you wake up early enough, you may be able to see that beautiful sunrise around 6:30 a.m. Now let's take a look at our state map starting over in eastern Washington. And once we get that up, we'll look at the city of Spokane and the city of Pullman. In Spokane, we have a high of 74 and a low of 47. And as I said, over here in Pullman with a high of 70 degrees. Now looking over in central Washington with cities of Yakima and Tri-Cities, we have upper 70s and a low of lower 50s. Now hopping over to the west side of Washington with cities of Seattle and Olympia with upper 70s and mid 60s. and lower 40s and 53 degrees. Now take a look at our 5cast. Here today through Thursday, we have upper 70s with Thursday looking at 65 degrees. And the weekend, sadly, we will have rain. So on Saturday, when we have that football, make sure you wear your jacket and rain jackets for the game. Thank you. Back to the desk.
WSU soccer had a game against the Jayhawks. Here a recap of the match.
WSU football pulled out a win in their second game of the season. Hear what the Cougs did to bounce back after a tough loss in Game 1.
No matter where you look, the state of the world's getting worse. Oceans full of plastic, an endless amount of waste, an impossible task ahead of fixing our beloved planet. But change can't happen if you do nothing. So here's where you should start. Reduce. Why? Because Americans produce more than 200 million tons of waste every year, and you don't want to add to that. Reuse. Why? Because reusing and repurposing cuts back on unnecessary waste, and it gives things a chance at new life. Recycle. Why? Because recycling creates jobs. It helps our community and it helps our planet. And after doing all this, what will we be left with? We'll be left with a planet that will slowly start to heal.
Washington State bounced back against the Jayhawks, taking the game 3-0 after a previous loss on Thursday. Bridget Ratkin scored with a header off of a swinging corner from Sydney Pulver, kicking the score off 1-0. Continuing on their pressure, sophomores Margit DeTrizo and Alyssa Gray doubled their score against the Jayhawks defense. In the second half of the game, Alyssa Bennett and Brianna closed out the game with another score. Big news out of Southern Cal, as USC just announced they fired their head coach, Clay Helton, just days before their match with WSU. USC coming off a big loss to Stanford. Meantime, the Cougs are coming off their 44-24 win over Portland State. Sophomore quarterback Jaden DeLaura was working with a change in tempo after the 5th possession of the game to set the Cougars into motion. In less than 10 minutes a game, there was a 7-point tie that turned into a 17-point advantage for the Cougs. Going into the next game against USC, we'll see how our defensive backup will hold up with Armani Marsh, Armani Archie, Chris Jackson, and Daniel Isom that could potentially not return.
Here when the WSU Board of Regents meet next.
And see what they plan on funding for the future. Stay tuned.
The Board of Regents will meet this Thursday and Friday to vote on key construction project. Board members are expected to vote on the demolition of Johnson Hall and the $15 million renovation to Phase 1 building on WSU Spokane campus. Meeting will start at 9 a.m. on Thursday, and the public is free to join the meeting remotely. Friday's meeting will stream live on YouTube. Thanks for watching. If you missed anything or any of our previous newscasts, you can always watch us on YouTube.
Have a great